my name is
Heidi.
Thank you, Jenny. My name is Heidi Russell, and I'm the founder of International Women Artists Salon, and very thrilled to be co-sponsoring this event to celebrate International Women's Day along with Art Boundaries Unlimited. Thank you, Candy, for partnering together on this. And I'm going to try to keep it short because Jenny's cracking the whip over there. She's very witty, so you're going to really enjoy the evening as well as the performance. So it's my pleasure to introduce and thank Jenny Green. And she's a wonderful performer, multi-talented writer, producer, graphic artist, etc. extraordinaire from the UK. And she's going to be our hostess tonight. So welcome to the stage.
Woo! So, I don't know how this works. Tighty, righty, lefty, loosey. That's what they say, isn't it, in these parts? Thank you ever so much for coming to celebrate International Women's Day with us. It's out of control. The room is out of control. So I'm not. So yeah, we've got together 15 fantastic women from all over the world, and we could have had even more. We've put this event together really quickly just to kind of see what kind of energy we had for it, and there's been a fantastic appetite for it, which is great. And we're all honouring great women from our countries of origin, mainly literary, because obviously that's easier for this format. And then we're going to have a follow-up event on the 31st of March where we're going to do a creative lounge for arts organisations and individuals to celebrate the health and wealth of women who artify. Which is actually a word, I didn't make that up. It's on the internet anyway, so that doesn't really make a word. So yeah, so thank you very much to Heidi and Candy for partnering on this, and for Jen to jump in and wave the flags for everybody. Do purchase a flag because you might win a fabulous prize. I might even raffle myself off if you're lucky. So yeah, so we're going to go through all the countries by alphabetical order in the interest of time. And I think that's all I have to say on that, so enjoy the show. Thanks, everybody.
Hi. Hi. I'm Star Kirkland, and I'm representing America tonight. I know, get excited. I'm going to be doing a little piece from Toni Morrison's Beloved. The reason is because I kind of want to do someone that you wouldn't know, but this is what was speaking to me. And specifically, Toni Morrison's work has been sort of influential in furthering my relationship with my mother and sort of exploring who I am and my experiences in life. And so today that's what you guys are getting. Let the children come. And they ran from the trees toward her. Let your mothers hear you laugh, she told them. And the woods rang. The adults looked on and could not help smiling. Then let the grown men come, she shouted. They stepped out one by one from among the ringing trees. Let your wives and your children see you dance, she told them, and ground life shuddered under their feet. Finally, she called the woman to her. Cry, she told them, for the living and the dead just cry, and without covering their eyes, the woman let loose. It started that way, laughing children, dancing men, crying women, and then it got all mixed up. Women stopped crying and danced. Men sat down and cried. Children danced. Women laughed. Children cried until exhausted, and each lay about the clearing damp and gasping for breath. In the silence that followed, she offered up her great big heart. She did not tell them to clean up their lives or go and sin no more. She did not tell them that they were the blessed of the earth, its inheriting meek or its glory bound pure. She told them that the only grace they could have was the grace that they could imagine. That if they could not see it, they would not have it. Here, she said, in this place we flesh that weeps, laughs, flesh that dances on bare feet in grass. Love it. Love it hard. Yonder, they do not love your flesh. They despise it. They don't love your eyes. They just as soon pick them out. No more do they love the skin on your back. Yonder, they flay it. And oh, my people, they do not love your hands. Those they only use, tie, bind, chop off, and leave empty. Love your hands. Love them. Raise them up and kiss them. Touch others with them. Pat them together. Stroke them on your face because they don't love that either. You've got to love it. You. And no, they ain't in love with your mouth. Yonder out there, they will see it broken and break it again. What you say out of it, they will not heed. What you scream from it, they do not hear. What you put into it to nourish your body, they will snatch away and give you leavings instead. No, they don't love your mouth. You got to love it. This is flesh I'm talking about here. Flesh that needs to be loved. Feet that need to rest and to dance. Backs that need support. Shoulders that need arms. Strong arms, I'm telling you. And oh, my people out yonder, hear me. They do not love your neck unnoosed and straight, so love your neck. Put your hand on it. Grace it. Ooh, stroke it and hold it up in all your inside parts that they just as soon slop for hogs. You gotta love them. The dark, dark liver, love it, and the beating and beating heart, love that too, more than eyes or feet, more than lungs that have yet to draw free air, more than your life-holding womb and your life-giving private parts. Hear me now, love your heart, for this is the prize.
G'day, I'm Amy and I'm from Australia. I'm reading from a play called Honour by Joanna Murray Smith, a Melbourne playwright. It's about a woman named Honour whose husband has just left her for another woman who's his daughter's age, and I'm his daughter. And I'm talking to Claudia, the woman who my father just left my mother for. I suppose you might. I wish I was more like you. Like you. You seem so clear. You seem so clear about things, whereas I'm so... I can never quite say what I'm even to myself, I'm so inarticulate. Some nights I lie awake and I think about the things I've said, confidently. The things I've said confidently, and they fall to pieces. And where there were words, there is now just this feeling of impossibility. That everything there's no way through it. I used to feel that way when I was very small. That same feeling. Not a childish feeling, well, maybe. As if I was choking on, as if life was coming down on me and I couldn't see my way through it. What does a child who has everything suffer from? Who could name it? I can't. But it was a sort of... I used to see it in my head as jungle. All around me. Surrounding me. Some darkness growing. Something organic, alive. And the only thing that kept me here was the thought of honour and of Gus. Silly. Because I'm old now and I shouldn't remember that anymore. Lying in bed and feeling that they were there. Outside the room in all their warmth. A kind of charm to them. Maybe you're right. and it was not so easy as it looked, but they gave such a strong sense of love for one another. And inside that, I felt loved. And since I've gotten older, I don't feel... I feel as if everything that saved me has been taken from me. And you know what? I'm not a kid anymore. No. I'm not a kid anymore. But I still feel I need sorry.
So I'm representing Canada, right? I don't have a flag though, so you can't vote for Canada, which is okay because it's no one's favorite anyway. What? Oh, that's lovely. I don't know.
I apologize.
That's okay. It's okay. I wouldn't. No, just kidding. So my name is Kelsey, and I picked Alice Munro. If anyone knows anything about Canadian literature, the first woman who comes to mind is Margaret Atwood. So I didn't choose her. So Alice Munro was one of her partners for one of her novels. So I found something that said that Alice Munro was the Chekhov of Canada. So I'll just let you marinate with that and figure that out. Right? All right, cool.
That's kind of cool.
Good. Glad someone knows. All right. So this is from a short story called Something I've Been Meaning to Tell You. Et remembered the first time she understood that Char was beautiful. She was looking at a picture taken of them, of Char and herself and their brother who was drowned. Et was 10 in the picture, Char 14 and Sandy 7, just a couple weeks short of all he would ever be. Et was sitting in an armless chair and Char was behind her, arms folded on the chair back, with Sandy in a sailor suit, cross-legged on the floor, or marble terrace, you would think, with the effect made by what had been nothing but a dusty yellowing screen, but came out in the picture a pillar with draped curtains, a scene of receding poplars and fountains. Char had pinned her front hair up for the picture and was wearing a bright blue ankle-length silk dress. Of course, the color did not show, with complicated black velvet piping. She was smiling slightly with great composure. She could have been 18. She could have been 22. Her beauty was not of the fleshy, timid sort most often featured on calendars and cigar boxes of that period, but was sharp and delicate, intolerant, challenging. Et took a long look at this picture and then went and looked at Char, who was in the kitchen. It was wash day. The woman who came to help was pulling clothes through the wringer, and their mother was sitting down, resting and staring through the screen. She never got over Sandy. Nobody expected her to. Char was starching their father's collars. He had a tobacco and candy store on the square and wore a fresh collar every day. Et was prepared to find that some metamorphosis had taken place, as in the background, but it was not so. Char, bending over the starch basin, silent and bad-humored, she hated wash day, the heat and the steam and the flapping of sheets and the chucking of commotion of the machine. In fact, she was not fond of most housework. It showed in her real face, the same almost disdainful harmony as in the photograph. This made Et understand in some not entirely welcome way that the qualities of legend were real, that they surfaced where and when you least expected. She had almost thought that beautiful women were a fictional invention. She and Char would go down and watch the people get off the excursion boat on Sundays, walking up to the hotel. So much white it hurt your eyes. The ladies' dresses and parasols and the men's summer suits and Panama hats. Not to speak of the sun dazzling over the water and the band playing. But looking closely at those ladies, Et found fault. Coarse skin, or fat behinds, or chicken necks, or dull nests of hair, probably ratted. Et did not let anything get by her, young as she was. At school, she was respected for her self-possession and her sharp tongue. She was the one to tell you if you had been at the blackboard with a hole in your stocking or a ripped hem. And she was the one who imitated, but in a safe corner, always away from the schoolyard, out of shot, the teacher reading The Burial of Sir John Moore. All the same, it would have suited her better to have found one of those ladies beautiful, not Char. It would have been more appropriate, more suitable than Char in her wet apron and her cross expression bent over the starch basin. Et was a person who didn't like contradictions, didn't like things out of place, didn't like mysteries or extremes. She didn't like the bleak notoriety of having Sandy's drowning attached to her, didn't like the memory people kept of her father carrying the body up the beach. She could be seen at twilight in her gym bloomers, turning cartwheels on the lawn of the stricken house. She made a wry mouth, which nobody saw one day in the park when Char said, "That was my little brother who was drowned."
So my country is still Croatia, and this is the flag. So I'll be reciting a poem written by my greatest inspiration. He's a very, very influential singer in Croatia. Her name is Tami Michelle. She's actually my mom, which was Jenny's idea. I was thinking, who do you do? Who do you do? She's like, why don't you do your mom? So I said, I guess. Well, I learned English, so that was good enough. The poem is about the atmosphere of that difference when being alone. What is the difference when you're alone or when you're with someone and passion is gone? So it's another language, but I think emotion speaks above all languages. Hopefully that comes through. Ista je noć, isti je dan. Nad nama nebo, kapi kiše drhte. U zavrelog mora laži prhte. Istekla ljubav, ka pjesak niz prste. A od snova davnih samo čežnje puste. Ista noć, isti je dan. A ljubavi nije i žar. Ti i ja, a putuje kraj. Ispletene želje i svi naši snovi za nama dugo vrte se u krug. Istekla ljubav, ko pjesak niz prste, a od snova davnih samo čežnje puste. Ista noć i isti je dan, a ljubavi nije i žar. Ti i ja, a putuje kraj, da je bar san.
Hi, my name is Shireen and I'm representing Egypt today. Here's the Egyptian flag. I'm going to talk about one of the most inspiring actresses, Egyptian actresses in Egypt. It's a very short bio about her. And so I'm just going to read what I prepared. Yusra is an Egyptian actress and singer born on the 10th of March 1955 in Cairo, Egypt. Her birth name is Savine Nassim. She is the sister-in-law of a very prominent actor, Hisham Salim, who was a very famous football player and a former president of Al Ahli, which is a team like, you know, the Chicago Bears. Or Yusra is considered as a glamorous icon for the Middle East. Despite obstacles, she has always managed to pull herself up into the limelight. Recently, many people have acknowledged that Yusra has reached a point of stardom where anything she has to say will be heard by more people and to greater effect than even those in authority. And she smartly took advantage of this, using it as a tool to help children. Yusra has received over 50 awards in recognition for her work as a UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Program, Goodwill Ambassador. Moreover, the Coptic Orphans, non-profit organization founded in 1989 and based in Merrifield, Virginia, has thanked Yusra for contributing their time and effort in helping the children. Her first appearance as an actress was in 1977, and actively she was performing till this day, still works totaling up to about 60 films, 15 television shows, soap operas, commercials, advertisings, and she has released her first vocal album in 2002. A very important milestone in Yusra's career was working with the famous Egyptian director Yusuf Shaheen. Yusra was very impressed with Shaheen's work, stating, "Yusuf Shaheen affected me on a personal and professional level. He is a school for anyone who works with him." Last year, with the spring of the Egyptian Revolution, Egypt was honored by Cannes Film Festival in May 2011, screening a series of short films, one of them titled Interior Exterior, about a woman discovering her political voice through the engagement of a friend despite the fears of her husband. This friend was Yusra. I personally grew up watching Yusra on television and Egyptian cinema during the 13 years living in Cairo and Alexandria. I almost thought it was a dream when Yusra walked into the room where I was doing makeup, getting ready with the other extras in Yusuf Shaheen's production of Alexandria, New York in 2003. I was not used to seeing big stars in real life. It was not until many years later in May 2011 at the 64th Annual Cannes Film Festival, I met with a lovely woman a few times and had the opportunity to speak with her on a personal level, to get inspired by what she had to say. She spoke about the importance of artists' role to communicate through the arts what's relevant in our society politically as a means to bring awareness, not only to our people in Egypt, but also to people from all parts of the globe. Thank you.
I'm Emily Eden and I'm representing England, and in true fashion, British fashion, I've got it in my bosom. I chose Emily Bronte, who wrote the great classic masterpiece Wuthering Heights. And the reason I chose her is because I was named after her, obviously the Emily part, not the Bronte part. And what really interests me is the fact that her and her sisters, who are also great novelists of the great British classical world in literature, they both had to pen, well, they all had to pen their books under a pen name, so under a man's name, to get them published. And it still happens today, because J.K. Rowling did that. She used a gender-neutral name to get Harry Potter published. So I decided to read one of Emily Bronte's poems called Remembrance, as we're remembering people, you know, here we go. So I'm not going to stand here and be like, Heathcliff! But we're going to get serious now, okay? All right. Nice little poem. Here we go. Remembrance by Emily Bronte. Cold in the earth, and the deep snow piled above thee, far, far removed, cold in the dreary grave. Have I forgot my only love? To love thee, severed at last by time's all-severing wave. Now when alone do my thoughts no longer hover over the mountains on that northern shore, resting their wings where heath and fern leaves cover thy noble heart forever, evermore. Cold in the earth, and 15 wild Decembers from those brown hills have melted into spring. Faithful indeed is the spirit that remembers after such years of change and suffering. Sweet love of youth, forgive. If I forget thee, while the world's tide is bearing me along, other desires and other hopes beset me, hopes which obscure but cannot do thee wrong. No later light has lightened up my heaven, no second morn has ever shone for me. All my life's bliss from thy dear life was given, all my life's bliss is in the grave with thee. But when the days of golden dreams had perished, and even despair was powerless to destroy, then did I learn how existence could be cherished, strengthened, and fed without the aid of joy. Then did I check the tears of useless passion, weaned my young soul from yearning after thine, sternly denied its burning wish to hasten down to that tomb already more than mine. And, even yet, I dare not let it languish, dare not indulge in memory's rapturous pain, once drinking deep of that divinest anguish. How could I seek the empty world again? That's it.
Good evening, ladies. It's nice to see you all. Happy Women's Day. Actually, it's an honor to be here tonight with such a wonderful and beautiful women, which is, I have now been seeing some of them for a while. Sherry, thank you. That was great. Well, I have the privilege to talk about Gabriela Mistral. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Gabriela Mistral was born in 1889, 1957. She was the phenomenon of Lucila Godoy Alcayaga. She was a Chilean poet, educator, diplomat, and feminist who was the first Latin American to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1945. Some central themes on her poems are natural betrayal, love, mother love, sorrows, and recovery. Travel and Latin American identity have formed from the mixture of Latin American and European influence. Many Latin American artists and intellectuals, Mistral served as a consul from 1932 until her death, working in Naples, Madrid, Lisbon, Nice, Petropolis, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, Veracruz, Rapallo, and New York. As consul in Madrid, she has occasional professional interactions with another Chilean consul and Nobel Prize winner, Pablo Neruda. And she was among the earliest writers to recognize the importance and originality of his work, which is he has known him when he was a teenager in Temuco, where she was the director. On November 15, 1945, Mistral became the first Latin American and fifth woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. She received the award in the person of King Gustav of Sweden on December 10, 1945. In 1947, she received the Doctor Honoris Causa from Miles College, Oakland, California. In 1951, she was awarded the National Literary Prize in Chile. During the last year of her life, she made her home in the town of Roslyn, New York. In early January 1957, she died for pancreatic cancer. The poem that I choose to read for you tonight is Kisses, but I will do this in Spanish, which means besos. I hope that since Spanish is our second most important language in America, a lot of people get it. All right? Okay. Besos. Hay besos que pronuncian por sí solos la sentencia de amor condenatoria. Hay besos que se dan con la mirada. Hay besos que se dan con la memoria. Hay besos silenciosos, besos nobles. Hay besos enigmáticos, sinceros. Hay besos que se dan solo las almas. Hay besos por prohibidos, verdaderos. Hay besos que calcinan y que hieren. Hay besos que arrebatan los sentidos. Hay besos misteriosos que han dejado mil sueños errantes y perdidos. Hay besos problemáticos que encierran una clave que nadie ha descifrado. Hay besos que engendran la tragedia, cuantas rosas embrochan deshojado. Hay besos perfumados, besos tibios que palpitan en íntimos anhelos. Hay besos que en los labios dejan huellas como un campo de sol entre dos hielos. Hay besos que parecen azucenas por sublimes, ingenuos y puros. Hay besos traicioneros y cobardes. Hay besos maldecidos y perjuros. Judas besa a Jesús y deja impresa en su rostro de Dios la felonía, mientras la Magdalena con sus besos fortifica piadosa su agonía. Desde entonces los besos palpita el amor, la traición y los dolores. En las bodas humanas se parecen a la brisa que juega con las flores. Hay besos que producen desvaríos de amorosa pasión ardiente y loca. Tú los conoces bien, son besos míos, inventados por mí para tu boca. Besos de llama que en rostro impreso llevan los surcos de un amor vedado. Besos de tempestad, salvajes, besos que solo nuestros labios han probado. ¿Te recuerdas del primero? Indefinible. Cubrió tu faz de corderos sonrojos en los espasmos de emoción terrible. Llenáronse de lágrimas tus ojos. ¿Te acuerdas de una tarde, en loco exceso, te vi celoso, imaginando agravios? Te suspendí en mis brazos, vibró un beso. ¿Y qué viste después? Sangre en mis labios. Yo te enseñé a besar los besos fríos. Son de impasible corazón de roca. Yo te enseñé a besar con besos míos, inventados por mí para tu boca. hug each other, kiss to the person next to you. Okay? Give a kiss. All right.
Hello, my name is Nicola Murphy and I'm representing the Emerald Isle, that is Ireland tonight. Drink in hand, of course. So this is the flag, if you don't know it already. So the lady that I've chosen to speak about tonight, her name is Eva Gore Booth. She was born in 1870 in Lissadell House in County Sligo. She was very close friends with a poet called W.B. Yeats. And she had a very famous older sister, Constance Gore Booth, who was later known as the Countess Markievicz. She was very heavily involved in politics, and she was a big part of the Irish fight for independence from Britain back around the early 1900s. So Eva was a social and political activist. She also, I really thought she was a great sort of choice for tonight, because the more that I read up about her, it's just very inspiring how much of her life she spent dedicated to fighting for women's rights and better working conditions for women. She was a big part of the suffragist movement. And she was also an out and proud lesbian in the early 1900s, which was pretty courageous for somebody at that time. So along with all of that, she was also a poet. So I'm going to read a couple of her poems tonight, and two that I've chosen, Reincarnation and The Anti-Suffragist, I think really kind of encapsulate what it meant to her to take action and to like fight for women's rights and the problems that she could see around the world, and unfortunately a lot of them still exist today. So anyways, the first one is called Reincarnation. The darkness draws me, kindly angels weep, forlorn beyond receding rings of light. The torrents of the earth's desire sweep my soul through twilight downward into night. Once more the light grows dim, the vision fades. Myself seems to myself a distant goal. I grope among the body's drowsy shades. Once more the old illusion rocks my soul. I go to seek the starshine on the waves, to count the dewdrops on the grassy hill. I go to gather flowers that grow on graves. The world's wall closes round my prisoned will. Yea, for the sake of the wild western wind, the sphered scorns her flame-built throne. Because of primroses, time out of mind, the lonely turns away from the alone. I who have seen am glad to close my eyes. I who have soared am weary of my wings. I seek no more the secret of the wise, safe among shadowy, unreal human things. Blind to the gleam of those wild violet rays that burn beyond the rainbow's circle dim, bound by dark nights and driven by pale days, the sightless slave of time's imperious whim. I go to seek with humble care and toil the dreams I left undreamed, the deeds undone, to sow the seed and break the stubborn soil, knowing no brightness whiter than the sun. Content in winter if the fire burns clear, cottage walls keep out the creeping damp, hugging the old illusion warm and dear, the silence and the wise book and the lamp. And just one other really quick one. Yeah. Which I really love this because we'll let you guys listen, but it's aptly called The Anti-Suffragist. The princess in her world-old tower pined, a prisoner, brazen caged, without a gleam of sunlight or a windowful of wind. She lived but in a long lamp-lighted dream. They brought her forth at last when she was old. The sunlight on her blanched hair was shed, too late to turn its silver into gold. Ah, shield me from this brazen glare, she said.
Hello everybody, my name is Candy. I am from Montego Bay, Jamaica, and the countries that came before are really good, fitting, because Jamaica is an island that was influenced heavily by the British Isles and also by Spanish-speaking countries, Latin America, Central America, India, Germany, and of course Africa and the indigenous peoples that were already there. So tonight's really exciting for me because it's sort of a to see everybody come together is really great. And this poem was written by my mother, who is a poet. And as you listen to it, we spend a lot of time in constructed settings. So this is about celebrating nature, celebrating our natural surroundings. And growing up, I learned to speak in two different styles. I learned the Jamaican patois, but I also learned straight English. So I'm actually going to read this in a lightened version of the Jamaican patois, so that way you can capture the beauty of the words, yet still get a little bit of the island flavor. So, so here it goes. Jamaica, land of my birth, in scenes. Behold you stand, covered in green, shades of gold, a mystified scene. Clad in your industrious villa robe, Ponciana red, what more can be said? Shout, O island, loud with pride, let me hear it in the cresting tide. Whistle, O wind, let music ring, sweet nightingale, come out and sing. Hear the happy mothering brook, calling to come and take a look. Bathe in the cool, refreshing spring. Massage with the joy and comfort it brings. Proclaim, O island, your forest green. Boast in your grandeur, amazing scenes. Your flowers, your birds, creatures, and more. Fruits in abundance from your natural store. See the mountains, poised and tall, majestic in beauty, covered all green. Hear the willows whistling call. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful green. See the hills amidst the mist, grazed by nature's heavenly scene. Hear the birds' melodious bliss. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful green. Praise, O nature, your creator and guide, majestic and high, our sovereign source of pride. Who spoke and nature exploded like pearls, spreading fragrance to every boy and girl.
My name is Vanessa Marco, and I am representing Puerto Rico, where I'm from. And my artist is Sylvia Resage. This is her. And she's considered to be the greatest Puerto Rican composer, female composer of all time. I chose her because not only is she an icon, and she died in 1961, and artists are still recording her music. She's still a huge influence in Latin America, Puerto Rico, Central America, and in the Latin communities in the U.S. But she was a true poet more than anything. When you listen to her music, like the way she wrote, it was completely unique. And even if you don't understand Spanish, you can feel the emotion and the pain in her music. You can just feel it. She sadly became an alcoholic and died really young at the age of 39. So the song I chose is called Olas y Arenas, which means waves and sands. And in this song you can feel, I guess it's about a heartbreak, love breakup that she had. She compares, she's the sand, and the sea and the waves is him. And she's saying how envious she is of when he comes and touches other sands and leaves her behind, and she waits for him to touch her. And he just goes over. Soy la arena que en la playa está tendida, envidiando otras arenas que le quedan cerca al mar. Eres tú la inmensa ola que al venir casi me tocas, pero siempre te devuelves hacia atrás. las veces que te derramas sobre arena humedecida, ya creyendo que esta vez me tocarás. Al llegarme tan cerquita, pero luego te recoges y te pierdes en la inmensidad del mar. Soy la arena que la ola nunca toca y que en la playa tendida vive sola su penar. Tú eres sola que te envuelves en la bruma y te disuelves en espuma, alejándome más. Soy la arena que la ola nunca toca y que en la playa tendida vive sola su penar. Tú eres sola que te envuelves en la bruma y te disuelves en espuma, alejándote más. Thank you.
It'll be Putin's face from now on. This is the wrong flag. Remix version. By the way, International Women's Day today in Russia is a huge deal. It's like more important than Valentine's Day. It's basically if your husband didn't give you flowers, you're getting divorced day. So that's what's happening as we speak in my family.
Was it what?
Wasn't it Men's Day 2 weeks ago?
Men's Day 2 weeks ago.
Don't you have Men's Day?
I have no idea.
In America, no,
They
not
do.
yet.
It's a good thing
No,
I'm
in
in
Russia. Yes, Men's Day.
Well, my dad's still emailing, so I guess we're okay. I chose some poetry by a Russian poet. Her name was Anna Akhmatova, born in 1889. She had a very tragic life. Her poet husband was shot because he was said to be a counter-revolutionary. After that, her son was arrested and sent to a labor camp. After that, the same thing happened to her lover. So basically, she stopped writing for 17 years of her life. She stopped writing poetry because there was too much going on. Even though she was incredibly outspoken, was a Russian woman, probably one of the first Russian women in the arts, to use a very harsh tone in her poetry, but at the same time keep it lyrical. So really the first woman to speak up in poetry in that whole world. She was censored by this, Stalin's regime and condemned, and even so she didn't emigrate, she stayed in the country. So really a ballsy, ballsy woman. So that's why I chose her, because we like those, and we're celebrating that today. And also these poems are kind of about shitty men, so that's good too. That's the subtext I get and everything, so. All right. This one is called The Last Toast. I drink to our demolished house, to all this wickedness, to you, our loneliness together, I raise my glass, and to the dead cold eyes, the lie that has betrayed us, the coarse, brutal world, the fact that God has not saved us. That's a short little one. To the point! Stop beating around the bush. All right. This one it's actually 3 poems together. It's one of her earlier ones, 1914, and it's called The Guest. I won't beg for your love. It's laid safely to rest. Let the earth settle. Don't expect my jealous letters pouring in to plague your bride, but let me nevertheless advise you. Give her my poems to read in bed. Give her my portraits to keep. It's wise to be kind like that when newlywed. For it's more needful to such geese to know that they have won completely than to have converse light and sweet or honeymoons of remembered bliss. When you have spent your kopecks worth of happiness with your new friend,
and like a taste that sates the mouth, your soul has recognized the end. Don't come crawling like a whelp into my bed of loneliness. I don't know you, nor could I help you. I'm not yet cured of happiness.
Oh, wait, that's my flag.
Sweden.
So this is Sweden. I have a matching shirt. And I'm going to talk about a very inspiring woman to me. Her name is Selma Lagerlöf, a Swedish author. And she was the first woman ever to be awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Yeah. First Swedish woman too, but internationally as well. And she spoke at the International Alliance for Female Suffrage during World War I, and she maintained her stance as a pacifist. Also important, she donated one of her Christ legends for publication to earn money to support Jewish refugees from Nazi Germany. This resulted in Germany boycotting a lot of her works. Now, the director Victor Sjöström, he began to film some of the world works of Selma Lagerlöf, and this resulted in silent films in every year from 1917 to 1922. In 1927, he did Gösta Berling's Saga, and that was where Greta Garbo had her first major role. Wow. So, now I just have a few quotes from a few of her writings, and the first one that I'm going to do is from Gösta Berling's Saga, and it says this. Have you ever seen a child sitting on its mother's knee listening to fairy stories? As long as the child is told of cruel giants and of the terrible suffering of beautiful princesses, it holds its head up and its eyes open. But if the mother begins to speak of happiness and sunshine, the little ones close its eyes to fall asleep with its head against her breast. I am a child like that too. Others may like stories of flowers and sunshine, but I choose the dark nights and sad destinies. And here's another one. They're short. It is often the case with the silent children within us that they cherish a dream which they dare not talk about. Strange. When you ask anyone's advice, you see yourself what is right. There isn't much that tastes better than praise from those who are wise and capable. And this is my favorite. No one is able to enjoy such a feast than the one who throws a party in its own mind.
So, as you probably don't know, I am actually a bit Scottish, this bit. Scottish leg. So yeah, I do have a northern British accent, but I was born in Glasgow in Scotland, and my granddad was Glaswegian, and I lived up there for the first couple of years of my life, so I have a Scottish soul and a Scottish skillet. So, and a Scottish drinking habit. Scottish liver. I'm not a Londoner. How dare you? So I'm doing Muriel Spark, and I wanted to do her because the first play that I really remember doing, apart from Suspense and a Dragon Called Horace, which was when I was about 5, was The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which was made into a fantastic film which had Maggie Smith in it, became an Oscar nominated film, and obviously Maggie Smith is now chewing the furniture in Downton Abbey and doing an amazing or Downton, as you might say in Scotland. Downton. So so that was a great influence for me, and I am actually now probably the right age to be in my prime. If only I was. So I was going to read from her most famous from Muriel Spark's most famous work, which is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which she wrote the novel of, and then it was adapted. But it seems to be on someone's study list because I couldn't find it in any of the libraries, and I'm a great fan of a library rather than buying things. So I found some of her other work, which I'm not actually that familiar with. So please excuse me if it sounds like I've never read it before. If that would be the case. But she was a very prolific writer. She was made a Dame of the British Empire in 1993, I think. She wrote over 20 books. She was recognised as one of the top 50 British writers ever. So she actually was a really, really well-regarded writer, but it's kind of what happens, isn't it? You have like one stellar success, I think. I don't know, it's not happened to me yet. But so that's kind of what everyone knows for, but she actually did write all these other fantastic books as well, and I might actually read these now that I'm going to read them to you. So this is from a book called The Ballad of Peckham Rye by Muriel Spark. I'm just going to read the opening page and the last page, and that's not through sheer laziness, but they actually seem to convey quite a good part of the story and her literary style. Get away from here, you dirty swine, she said. There's a dirty swine in every man, he said. Showing your face round here again, she said. Now Mavis, he said. She was seen to slam the door in his face, and he to press the bell, and she to open the door again. I want a word with Dixie, he said. Now, Mavis, be reasonable. My daughter, Mavis said, is not in. She slammed the door in his face. All the same, he appeared to consider the encounter so far satisfactory. He got back into his little Fiat and drove away along the Grove and up to the Common, where he parked outside the Rye Hotel. Somebody is animating the story. Is it the circus? Is it the circus?
You're in my shoe.
Oh, I'm actually being sabotaged live. How exciting! How would I possibly dramatise being sabotaged? Right, back to the story. So, where were we? So he was back in his Fiat. He got back into the little Fiat and drove away along the Grove and up to the Common, where he parked outside the Rye Hotel. Here he lit a cigarette, got out, and entered the saloon bar. 3 men of retired age at the far end turned from the television and regarded him. One of them nudged his friend. A woman put her hand to her chin and turned to her companion with a look. His name was Humphrey Place. He was that fellow that walked out on his wedding a few weeks ago. He walked across to the White House and drank 1 bitter. Next he visited the Morning Star and the Heaton Arms. He finished up at the Harbinger. The pub door opened, and Trevor Lomas walked in. Trevor was seen to approach Humphrey and hit him on the mouth. The barmaid said, "Outside, both of you!" It wouldn't have happened if Dougal Douglas hadn't come here, a woman remarked. He was standing at the altar with Trevor, the best man, behind him. Dixie came up the aisle on the arm of Arthur Crewe, her stepfather. There must have been 30-odd guests in the church. Arthur Crewe was reported in the papers next day as having said, "I had a feeling the wedding wouldn't come off." At the time he stepped up to the aisle with Dixie, tall in her flounces, her eyes dark and open, and with a very little trace around the nose of a cold. She had said, "Keep away from me, you'll catch my cold, Humphrey. It's bad enough me having a cold for the wedding." But he said, "I won't catch cold from you. I like to think of the germs hopping from you to me." "I know where you get all these disgusting ideas from. You get them from Dougal Douglas. Well, I'm glad to hear he's gone and there won't be him at the wedding to worry about in case he starts showing off the lumps on his head or something." "I like Dougal," Humphrey said. Here they were, kneeling at the altar. The vicar was reading from the prayer book. Dixie took a lacy handkerchief from her sleeve and gently patted her nose. Humphrey noticed the whiff of scent which came from the handkerchief. The vicar said to Humphrey, "Wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife?" "No," Humphrey said. "To be frank, I won't." So cut to the end of the book. Imagine what happened in the intro. It's called The Ballad of Peck and Rye, for those who want to look it up. I can hear some circus. Anyway, so we'll carry on regardless, which is very Scottish of me. So here we go. Chapter 10. There was Dixie, come up to the altar with a wide flouncy dress and her nose a little red from a cold, tilted up towards the minister. Wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife? No, to be quite frank, Humphrey said, I won't. Dougal never read of it in the newspapers. He was away off to Africa with the intention of selling tape recorders to the witch doctors. No, medicine man, Dougal said. These days can afford to be without a portable tape recorder. Without the aid of this modern device, which may be easily concealed in the undergrowth of the jungle, the old tribal authority will rapidly become undermined by the mounting influence of modern scepticism. Frugal man at heart, as all Scots are. I added that bit. And turned them into a lot of cockeyed books and went far in the world. He never married. The night after, Humphrey arrived alone at the honeymoon hotel at Folkestone. Arthur Crewe walked into the bar. The girl's heart broken, he said to Humphrey. Better soon than late, Humphrey said. Tell her I'm coming back. She's blaming Dougal Douglas. Is he here with you? Not so you'd notice it, Humphrey said.
So, I'm from Sri Lanka, my family's from Sri Lanka, and the author that I'm doing is Dr. Sumati Sivamohan. She is Sri Lankan Tamil. Tamil is the largest ethnic minority in Sri Lanka. This is the Sri Lankan flag, but I have a very complicated relationship with the Sri Lankan flag and Sri Lankan nationalism, as well as the author. Sri Lanka had a very horrific, bloody civil war for over 30 years, and the current government and many of the Sri Lankan governments have been extremely authoritarian and chauvinistic towards all ethnic minorities, including the largest ethnic minority, which is Tamil people. But in response to the authoritarianism, or we can analyze it many different ways, perhaps because no other space is allowed, that what emerged was just as authoritarian rebel group, the Tamil Tigers, the LTTE. And so Sumati, her older sisters actually were part of the LTTE and were part of the rebel movement, but then changed their minds. So her oldest sister was actually the first woman political prisoner in Sri Lanka, and then her other sister, Rajani, was a human rights activist who, both of them left the Tigers because they didn't believe in their approaches and the ways they went about it. And Rajani, who was a human rights activist, actually got assassinated by the Tigers as well. And what was powerful about Sumati, what is powerful about Sumati's work, is that she stood up against both the bigotry of the state, but then also against the rebels, which was extremely dangerous to do. And she sought liberation for Tamil people, my people, through art and theater and poetry, and using a mirror to reflect our realities upon ourselves and to think about that. So I'm going to do an excerpt from Thin Veils. She writes both poetry as well as theater, and this is like she calls it performing activism. It's the excerpt is from In the Shadow of the Gun. Kalpa? Solle! Who is there? Tell me now! Sneaking and slinking in the dark, I am no Rajput queen immolating herself to ward off the conquering army, but I will fight to the marrow to protect myself from the plundering hands of aliens. Oh, it's you. I thought it was the soldier. What can an unarmed woman do in the valley of death? Yes? You came in search of me? Truly, but why? I am a lone woman trying to serve my sisters and brothers in the struggle. My brothers, I am with you. You admire my courage? You don't know about my yearnings. When I see the spirit of the oppressed moving you all towards national glory, martyrdom, and death, I am moved too. I want to do my bit for the land and my people. What? What did you say? You want me to carry the gun and join you all? You all must be joking. You are asking me. I'm clueless. I don't know anything. I don't know to carry out orders and welcome death. But desire in your eyes, seek out the beautiful. Fill your heart with hatred. Wear the cyanide near your heart and die with the nation's oath on your lips. Sing the praises of the leader and ask for the blessings from the priest. So my brothers, fellow freedom lovers, you are in haste. But no, I cannot give you my stories. They are mine. They are women's stories given in confidence all about their persons, little details about everyday life. You want to give me the gun, the mighty symbol of power, and take my stories away from me? But that is not what I want to do. I heal. Yes, heal. Women's wounds. Those gasping wounds of violation. I set out to find out why women cry when their children go to war. To know why they walk miles alone in the dark when even the dogs have gone to sleep. Look at that. Just once, and then you will know why you cannot steal these away from me. Leave me alone. Thank you.
Hi. Am I the only Asian face here? So I'm from Taiwan, just in case you don't know where that is. It's a little island off the south of China Sea. And it is a country, by the way. Okay. So, Formosa, I'm going to do something a little bit different. First of all, my name is Wen. I'm going to introduce a visual artist from my country. Because I'm a visual artist. And this woman, she's actually one of the pioneer fine artists in Taiwan. And there are a lot of similarities from our backgrounds. And her name is Liu Shifen. I'm going to do a little bit introduction of her. She is one of the most influential contemporary Taiwanese artists, and her work has been widely shown at prestigious international exhibitor artists, and that really spoke to me. And in the past 26 years, Liu's work she works as a full-time nurse in a excuse my English. Obstetrics and
babies. Obstetrics is babies, isn't it?
Yeah, and gynecological clinic department. OBGYN. In a big hospital in Taipei. And I also come from a medical background, except I'm a practitioner in Eastern medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and Reiki healing. So I'm going to introduce you two of her work. So I'm going to need a little bit visualization and imagination here. Okay. The first one is her earlier work, Barbie's Feast. Barbie's Feast is an installation which consists of a life-size skeleton, real skeleton, lying in the position of a woman, giving birth with her legs wide open. On a Baroque style dining table, covered by a delicate piece of lace covering her chest. The skull of the skeleton is covered by a golden mask of Liu's face. And between the wide open legs, Liu deliberately attached a fake golden penis. And surrounded by some chicken feathers to represent human hair. And many says that Barbie's feast is a typical expression of early Western feminist notion. However, she refuses to be labeled as any stereotypes. Her piece is to question the structure of power within existing gender relations, as well as patriarchy or patriarchal feminism. So I found that very, very intriguing. It's both ways. There's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse. And another quote from her, I found it very interesting. She said that, "I will never quit my full-time nursing job to pursue my career as a professional artist, as my work in the hospital provides me with inspiration for art." And here's another example. This work is called Gift, which is shown at the first International Women Festival in Taiwan, Kaohsiung Museum of Fine Arts, and was a video installation depicting a disabled baby. Gift was presented in a separated room specifically built for this work. Walking through an arch-shaped gate, visitor enters a dark room with two main walls at the front and the back. Two screens were arranged, one on each wall. One of the films is a continuous video of a woman's eye blinking and looking at the other screen, while the main film, is about a baby which was born severely disabled, having no skull bones to protect her exposed brain, which is a real film footage, and who lived for just 26 hours. The main film was carefully produced, so that it resembles an animation of a fairy story at the end of the film. Oh, by the way, the brain I saw on the film shaped like a heart without the skull. The brain actually opens up like and it's red, just like a heart. At the end of the film, a pigeon, hand-drawn by Liu Shifen, appears from the baby's exposed heart-shaped brain and flies away. The artist has suggested that the pigeon represents the life of the baby who died the next day. And the woman who was watching that video was her mother. This is what I see from her work, and I would like to share with all of you. All lives are precious and perfect. They are all gifts from God. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Clemmy and I'm from Wales, which, like Taiwan, is an actual country. It's next door to England, not in it, or in Poland, as I've been told. And this is our flag, which is the dragon, definitely the coolest one, so if you haven't purchased one, this is a good one to purchase. Wales, as a country, is very historically literary. There are female writers dating back to the 10th century, but finding 10th century Welsh writing on the last minute in New York is quite hard. So Wikipedia let me down. But so I've chosen someone who's contemporary. It's a writer called Flir Dafydd, and she's important to me for a number of things. She's from the town where I was born, which is Carmarthen in West Wales. The Welsh language is definitely at a kind of turning point at the moment where not a lot of people speak it anymore. It's got a lot of pockets in Wales where there is strong sort of Welsh people who still speak it, but there are lots of incentives from the government to get people to educate their children about the Welsh language and to speak it. And she is one of the front runners for this. She's young, she's 29, she's already got her PhD, she's a lecturer at university on Aris Thomas, who's a Welsh poet. She writes in English and in Welsh, and she's also a singer-songwriter as well. Her songs are amazing. Definitely check it out. But this is from one of her novels, which is called A Tyniad, and it's about an island off the coast of North Wales. It's called Ynys Enlli in Welsh, which means island in the currents. And the island is the main character of the novel, and it kind of goes through, it kind of deals with all the people who visit the island. Mainly writers go there to kind of find some sort of peace or, you know, whatever they need, inspiration for a lot of writing. It's very popular for writers. So this is the opening of the book, which I'm going to read to you, which describes someone's arrival on the island. It's in Welsh. We have very few vowels, so good luck. Fe fy nhaf hir, heb ddynion ar Ynys Enlli na. Nid heb ddynion yn gyrraedd gwyl chwaith, ar hwyb I rai mae hun yn gwasgu yn noeth, yn erbyn wargerig dan y llwyr, gan deimlio gwraid llanhariau. Wargerydd oel ambell I yn afnodius. Dyma oedd yn testyn trafod I llenir, sinsir, allus, sioned a cadi. A dos am cwych yn brynhawn y morio. Dechrau fynd o'r giliad fynd o'r merched y dwaith. Mae'r chi cadi oedd dasgallu mair, cymwll oed wedi syth. Grip hwmpol I hawl. Prig dro, ond gan fod yn dydd yn dod I plith wel, mae gynnon ni ddewis rhan I dros. Croed I sliw ar foreichliol, ymwch y criw. Roedd sioned ar bihaith sir hyd yn oed, a'r parbi wedi cyrrod pen y llynen. Chwarhiaddfol, a fyddi, a roed a bech yn hynnog, a roi hedwg yn y chael, yn y ta edrychau. Sensir a lleri. Mae'n Cymru am hwyl I fawr.
That was our fabulous cornucopia of international women's voices, which was amazing, wasn't it? I'm not going to remember everybody's name because I have now had a drink. So a huge big hand, and I think they've gone now because Amy has actually a film screening tonight. But there's Amy Brown, Candy Sterling, Cecibel Caniarte, Clemmy Evans, Dana Pellovine, Ella Mish, Emily Eden, Kelsey Stokes, Nicola Murphy, Sarah Algren, Shireen Mohammed, Star Kirtland, Vanessa Marco, Yelini Dream, and Wen Chi Chen. So a huge round of applause for them. And a huge thank you to Dixon Place for hosting us here entirely free of charge. And what I would also say is that all of the artists that you've seen tonight have also performed free of charge, because that is unfortunately the state of the arts for New York City, is that there's so many of us here that are all struggling, probably everybody in the audience is an artist and nobody's got any money. But what we're...
Buy you girls a drink!
So yeah, we're very cheap. So the only way we can, we have to kind of support each other, and that's kind of what the International Women's Artists Salon seeks to do. It seeks to kind of connect people, to help people to find ways to fund their arts, and Art Boundaries Unlimited similarly has performance projects to enable people to stage their new work and get some kind of financial remuneration for the work that we love doing, but we all have to live, right? So the only way that we have tonight for what is otherwise a free event is to invest in a flag, which I know is jingoistic, and I completely get you, Leni, wherever you are, about that whole flag waving thing. Because that happens a lot more in America than it does in Britain. And I remember when I once tried to reclaim the Union Jack, because the Union Jack, obviously, Britain has done a lot of wrong in the world over history, but there are some things that have been, to some benefit to some people. But in Britain, it's very... I'm not going to go down this track. I'm not going to say any of this, but basically, in England, it's very kind of frowned upon to be flag waving and jingoistic, and England is generally, Britain is generally a more cynical parts of the world in America is anyway. So, you know, tonight and the Salon and Art Bounds Unlimited are really about, you know, celebrating the positive experiences of our nationalities. You know, with all the wars and strife which have generally been caused by men anyway, let's face it. So, buy a flag and support the arts. Don't go to war, buy flags at war. So, let me leave you with a little bit of the. I put all my when I do plays, I write them in all these little moleskin books which directors hate because they think that it's an excuse for not learning my lines. Of course it is. So yeah. So let me just find a good bit to read. Because this play really did appeal to me because I actually went to an independent girls' day school, which is what this play is about. But Muriel Spark, like me, actually did come from fairly humble means. But she kind of she did all right for herself in the end. After an unsuccessful marriage, which took her over to Rhodesia and produced a child, she was a single mother working in London, you know, struggling to get by, and then eventually, after sort of 15 years of grinding out lots and lots of work, she eventually started to get paid for it. And then I think it was in 1963, she wrote The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which was adapted by J. Preston Allen, and was made into a fabulous film which made Maggie Smith's career. And who knows, maybe this will make my career. Let's see. Little girls, I am in the business of putting old heads on young shoulders, and all my pupils are the creme de la creme. Give me a girl at an impressionable age, and she is mine for life. You girls are my vocation. If I were to receive a proposal of marriage tomorrow from the Lord Leon, King of Arms, I would decline it. I am dedicated to you in my prime, and my summer in Italy has convinced me that I am truly in my prime. Prop up your books in case of intruders. If there are intruders, we are doing our history. But we will not do history. Rather, I want to tell you of my summer and the man I met in the Borghese gardens and of the paintings I saw. My teaching methods have been decried in some quarters as unsuitable for a conservative school like Marcia Blaine. That is to say, a school dedicated to the status quo. Can anyone define status quo? Monica? Sandy? Define status quo. That is correct. I can always rely on Sandy, saying the same to the point of petrification. Petrifiation. But the needs must be 11 in the lump. I do not intend to devote my prime to petrification. For this refusal, I have been the intended victim of many plots. But the gangs who oppose me shall not succeed. If they want to get rid of me, they will have to assassinate me.
And a big round of applause for Jenny. She really brought all these artists together and coordinated. Congratulations.